headlines of VTV News. Vietnam's textile and garment industry witnesses rebound. Cần Thơ launches pilot project of 1 million hectares of high-quality, low-emission rice. And later on in our world news, according to Kremlin, Russia and NATO are now in direct confrontation.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Hello there, it's 3 p.m. local time, and this is VTV News broadcast live to you from Hanoi. You're with me, Lina Pham, and here's the top news of the hour. Last year, the domestic textile industry faced many challenges, and many businesses saw a decrease in orders. Consequently, numerous textile enterprises ended the year with a loss. However, looking ahead to 2024, the textile industry shows promise, as many businesses have secured orders through the third quarter.
Since February, this business has surprisingly received an influx of orders from European and Japanese markets for the second and third quarters. To meet these orders on time, the company has implemented initiatives such as partnering with labor providers to employ seasonal workers and hiring new workers to increase the workforce in sewing lines by 15%.
We'll invest in new types of machinery to boost productivity and enhance automation technologies to replace manual tasks.
Entering 2024, the number of this company's orders from American, South Korean, and Japanese markets has increased by 15% compared to the same period last year. To leverage the advantages, businesses have expanded their weaving factories' operations.
To reap higher revenues and profits in the coming years, we've mobilized resources to expand production capacity.
In the first quarter of 2024, the export turnover of Vietnam's textile industry exceeded $9.53 billion, marking a 9.62% increase compared to the same period last year. This growth is attributed to the economic recovery of key markets and increased global demand. Moreover, many Vietnamese enterprises have successfully met the new requirements of importers.
In recent times, businesses have upgraded and incorporated new technologies into certain processes, thereby boosting productivity and satisfying new standards regarding green products.
The Vietnam Textile and Apparel Association predicts that the revival of the textile industry will pave the way for an export turnover of $44 billion this year. Importantly, this will provide employment for a substantial workforce, thereby improving their income.
The first quarter of this year saw foreign direct investment or FDI attraction increase in both quantity and quality. Investors continue to trust Vietnam with over $6.1 billion in registered capital, with realized capital reaching over $4.6 billion, the highest since the past 5 years. The numbers show that the quality of the business investment environment is increasingly improving. Along with that, the readiness of domestic enterprises to participate in the supply chain help global businesses feel secure in investing in Vietnam.
More than $800 million is the total investment to build an electric and hybrid vehicle factory, with an output of 200,000 cars per year. The joint venture between a new energy vehicle brand and a Vietnamese enterprise meets Vietnam's green development orientation.
We expect this joint venture with a Vietnamese enterprise to have enough capacity to produce electric car and hybrid car models. Vietnam's advantage, it has huge potentials in high-tech industrial productions.
This land is ready to build this investor's third solar battery factory worth $454 million. With the support of the local authorities, within just 10 days, the business completed all procedures to disperse this investment.
A local team supported us with the handling of administrative procedures. The priority now is to put the factory into operation soon, in the context that we have exceeded expected output for the first quarter of this year and have no inventory.
In the first months of the year, The top localities attracting and dispersing FDI capital are all large industrial centers with favorable infrastructure. In particular, Thanh Nguyen, in the past 3 years, has focused on investing in synchronous infrastructure and inter-regional connections to prepare for investors.
The road connecting Bắc Giang, Thái Nguyên, Vĩnh Phúc provinces, with a capital of nearly $170 million and Ring Road 5 connecting Thái Nguyên and Bắc Giang, with a capital of over $28 million will help create industrial land fund to attract investors in the area.
For foreign investment capital to be realized, it is necessary for sectors and localities to make efforts to improve infrastructure along with the investment environment and administrative reform.
Credit growth reached 0.26% in Q1 this year. To increase the ability to absorb capital for the economy, the banking industry is implementing a variety of solutions, one of which is granting credit online.
This enterprise is preparing to expand its production line and import input materials, needing additional capital of about $12 million, have chosen a service with an interest rate of about 5.5% per year.
Not only do you have complete information about the bank you are targeting, but you can also evaluate the interest rates, services, and support information of this bank compared to other banks to make accurate loan decisions.
After borrowing, if you want to continue disbursing more, customers, whether businesses or individuals, do not need to make a new application or wait for approval, but only need to rely on cash flow to receive an increase from the bank online.
Based on the history of cash flow transactions at the bank can immediately propose and grant credit at the time the customer needs it. The bank will offer a solution and immediate disbursement.
In the first 3 months of the year, Vietnam's trade surplus was more than $8 billion. For the convenience of import-export businesses, many activities were also digitized to increase efficiency when opening credit at banks.
Customers have full control over the entire journey from applying for bank loan approval to disbursement, and using that amount to pay for their orders and import-export activities.
Concerning the legal basis for electronic lending of the State Bank, coordination with the Ministry of Public Security is needed to purify the credit data of more than 40 million customers. This also helps improve the accuracy and transparency of the bank's transactions.
The Vietnam Pepper and Spice Association recently issued an official dispatch dated April the 2nd and 4th to the government office. They requested the removal of the regulations on the export of cinnamon essential oil. Currently, regulations from the Ministry of Health on pharmaceutical trading have caused difficulties for enterprises exporting cinnamon essential oil. These regulations have resulted in hundreds of tons of essential oil being left in stock in raw materials areas. Businesses are required to meet a series of criteria regarding factories, vehicles, processing equipment, sanitary conditions, and employee qualifications. However, these regulations are currently inappropriate as their cinnamon essential oil products are primarily exported as raw materials for food and beverages, not as medicine. Given this situation, the Vietnam Pepper and Spice Association suggests that essential oils, particularly cinnamon essential oil, are dual-use products. Therefore, management needs to support maximum exports. Promoting products on digital platforms is a swift and efficient method of exposing one commune, one product or OCOP goods to consumers. As a result, over 3,000 OCOP units have recently undergone training in online sales techniques. Numerous young individuals and social media influencers are collaborating to revitalize OCOP products.
Định yên có vừa chiếu to, lấy chồng xứ Định khỏi lo chiếu năm. Câu ca dao một mạc giản dị ấy chứa đựng biết bao tự hào của ông cha ta về một làng nghề Nam Bộ truyền thống.
This film was not created by a professional cinematographer or skilled graphic technician. Instead, it's the work of a group of students from Nguyễn Quang Diệu High School for the Gifted in the Tháp province. They incorporated their love for traditional local products into the script. These students amplify the OCOP program, where each individual can act as an ambassador to promote products from their hometown.
Young generations are creative in transforming traditional aspects into modern products, while successfully preserving the unique traditions passed down from previous generations.
People are aware of the agricultural or co-products. They are not only promoting these products, but also gaining a deep understanding of each area's culture and tradition.
A year ago, the Center for Agricultural Trade Promotion under the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development signed a strategic cooperation agreement with TikTok to showcase OCOP products in an online store.
We are working with the Ministry of Agriculture and Development to promote OCOP products as representatives of Vietnam to customers in regional countries such as Thailand, China, Indonesia, and Singapore.
Notably, since the start of this year, TikTok has included a separate tab titled Proud of Vietnamese Goods in its shopping center, highlighting high-quality Vietnamese products. These changes are fostering a new approach for OCOP product distribution, expanding beyond local villages to symbolize the country's image.
Asia currently holds the largest share of marine aquaculture production worldwide, making up over 80% of the global total. Since 2010, Vietnam's marine farming area has been steadily expanding, now covering 85,000 hectares. Marine aquaculture output also saw a 10% increase compared to 2022. In recent years, many regions have been encouraging fishermen to transition to aquaculture, leading to improved economic efficiency. Our next story from Quảng Ninh province.
Members of the VTVgo cooperative have successfully overcome the challenges of marine farming by cultivating seaweed and oysters together in the waters of Vân Đồn, Quảng Ninh province. Consequently, they harvest 3 crops of cottonized seaweed annually, yielding 70 to 100 tons per hectare each year.
This seaweed cultivation project enhances environmental protection. Seaweed products are not only used for food, but also medicine and cosmetics.
Quảng Ninh, with a coastline exceeding 215 kilometers, a fishing ground spanning over 6,100 square meters, and 3 marine protected areas, aiming to become the country's aquaculture hub. The province has dedicated more than 45,000 hectares to marine farming. Despite its vast potential, businesses and cooperatives must address legal obstacles.
Marine farmers' biggest aspiration is achieving a farming license. As such, they are motivated to make investments and intensify cooperation with various units.
We have approved the planning of farming areas in localities neighboring the sea in the province. This is an important legal framework to attract investment inflows and create optimal conditions to hand over the management of marine farming areas to the farmers and businesses within Quảng Ninh province.
Last year, Quảng Ninh replaced nearly 7 million styrofoam buoys in aquaculture with environmentally friendly HDPE plastic floats. This effort demonstrates the province's commitment to creating a sustainable marine farming ecosystem. They aim to become the fishery centers of the North by 2030.
And before we move to the next part of VTV News, let's check out how the Vietnam dong is weighed against other currencies in the world market today. Coming up next, Cần Thơ launches pilot project of 1 million hectares of high-quality, low-emission rice. And youth in Dak Lak province revitalize traditional ethnic culture. The Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development launched the project developing multi-use values of forest ecosystems to 2030, Vision to 2035 on April the 4th. The project aims to improve the quality of planted forest and large timber forest by 2030, with a goal of producing raw wood to meet at least 80% of the processing industry's needs. Additionally, the project aims to increase the value of non-timber forest products and processed medicinal herbs by 1.5 times. Vietnam is also looking to promote community tourism and forest-based ecotourism, and to develop carbon absorption and storage services. Currently, over 10 million hectares of natural forest in Vietnam are being preserved. On the morning of April the 5th at the Thuận Cooperative in Cần Thơ City, the Department of Crop Production, Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, and the International Rice Research Institute, or IRI, held a launch ceremony for the 1 million hectares of high-quality rice project. This project will be implemented in 12 provinces and cities in the Mekong Delta, with the exception of Bến Tre due to its small rice area. Prior to a broad implementation, the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development has decided to pilot the project in 5 localities, including Cần Thơ City. The Mekong Delta is Vietnam's primary rice production region, producing a steady output of 24 to 25 million tons of rice per year. This accounts for over 50% of the country's rice output and 90% of its rice exports. Recently, intense heat has been widespread, with typical temperatures ranging from 38 to 40 degrees Celsius. This hot weather has not only heightened the risk of forest fires, but has also significantly affected agricultural production in various localities. For instance, in Nghệ An province, the high temperatures have slowed production and led to an increase in pests and diseases affecting crops.
This farmer has 1 acre plot of cucumbers and Tonkin creeper flowers. Previously, he could build a trellis in a day. However, due to recent extreme heat, he has only finished half of the trellis, despite it being the second day.
The hot weather is affecting the trees, causing cucumbers to wither and grow more slowly. High temperatures reduce the productivity of flower pollination.
So far, the entire province has finished cultivating summer-autumn rice crops across an area of over 90,000 hectares. However, extreme heat and unpredictable weather have adversely affected the plants, making them susceptible to pest infestation.
The district committee has directed the Agricultural Service Center and the People's Committees of the communes to assign locality officers to support farmers. They are advised to regularly visit fields to promptly detect and take measures to prevent disease. For example, they should spray pesticides that are recommended by specialized departments.
The agricultural sector recommends that farmers only water plants when the outdoor temperature has dropped, and to avoid watering while the soil is still hot.
Tourism businesses are diversifying their offerings to include various modes of transportation, such as cars, trains, and planes. In an effort to become less dependent on air travel and increase competitiveness, they are promoting this new approach to domestic tourism. This shift is largely due to the aviation industry's airplane shortage, which is expected to keep air ticket prices high. To counter these rising airfare costs, companies are creating new tour routes that focus on high-quality bus tours for short distances and developing train tours. The completion and operation of a series of north-south expressways are set to redefine domestic tourism. This approach will not only decrease the cost of package tours, but also enhance tourist experiences. By connecting road and train travel, tourists can enjoy diverse landscapes, including plains, plateaus, and seas during their journeys. This is particularly appealing for those who prefer to take in the scenery during long trips. Dak Lak is home to 49 ethnic groups, including nearly 70,000 youth union members who identify as ethnic people. In recent years, these young individuals have initiated many specific and practical activities to preserve the cultural identity of their respective ethnic groups and to perpetuate their long-lasting cultural heritage values within the community.
Inspired by a desire to honor the traditional cultural traits of his ethnic community, Thái Quang Eban restored the Ede people's traditional longhouse. This space serves not only as a communal living area, but also a place where he can teach traditional musical instruments to the younger generation.
I encourage people and students in my village to join me in practicing traditional musical instruments and dances. Through these sessions, I sense the eagerness of the children and young adults.
Thái Quang's gong team has attracted many young people to participate. Although some members are quite young, they have already mastered many traditional gong songs.
I feel very happy to join Quang's gong team, and I have received funding to perform in tourist areas. I believe that by learning this, I will help perpetuate my ethnic group's identity.
In addition to preserving and promoting traditional cultural values, the youth from ethnic groups in Dak Lak province actively participate in practical programs aimed at enhancing the prosperity of their communities.
They have supported the local authority in protecting standardized roads, creating unique products, and deploying practical movements to help the locality meet new rural standards in the near future.
Thanks to their enthusiasm, spirit, and responsibility, the young individuals of Dak Lak not only honor their traditional cultural values, but also work together to improve their villages.
Coming up next in our world news, according to Kremlin, Russia and NATO are now in direct confrontation. And Phie supports Afghanistan in improving food security. Russia's Federal Security Service detained 3 more suspects in connection with last month's mass shooting at the concert hall near Moscow, according to a statement released on Thursday. These arrests took place in the Russian cities of Moscow, Yekaterinburg, and Omsk, and included a Russian citizen as well as 2 foreign citizens from Central Asia. The statement revealed that 2 of the detainees provided funds for the purchase of firearms and vehicles used in the attack. The 3rd suspect is accused of recruiting accomplices and financing the attackers. The incident occurred at the Crocus City Hall concert venue located northwest of Moscow on March 22nd, leading to a large fire. The attack resulted in at least 144 fatalities and 551 injuries. The Kremlin has asserted that Russia and NATO are in direct confrontation. This statement was made in the context of the 75th U.S.-led alliance anniversary on Thursday. The Russian Foreign Ministry voiced concerns that the conflict in Ukraine could escalate and expand geographically, reaching a completely different scale. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov asserted that NATO has not only heightened tensions but has also involved itself in the conflict surrounding Ukraine. NATO continues to approach Russian borders and expand its military infrastructure. The Russian Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs indicated that Russia-NATO relations were predictably and deliberately deteriorating, with the dialogue channels between Moscow and the alliance reaching a critical zero level. The Russian diplomat confirmed that Russia has no intention of entering a military conflict with NATO or its member states. However, he noted that there is no prospect of security agreements with the West if NATO continues to perceive Russia as a direct threat. At least 11 Iranian security personnel were killed or injured during clashes with gunmen who opened fire on two sites linked to Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, as reported by state media. The conflict occurred overnight in the Sistan and Baluchistan province, located in the southeast part of the country. The Corps ground force commander stated that approximately 15 gunmen were killed during the clashes. State media reports referred to the incident as a thwarted terrorist attack. Jaish al-Adl, the Sunni militant group, claimed responsibility for the attacks. This group has a lengthy history of targeting Iranian armed forces. Over the last 2 years, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, or FAO, has assisted Afghan communities in mitigating climate shocks and enhancing food security. This support includes cash for work programs that build water management infrastructures. More on this to follow.
Food insecurity in Afghanistan remains alarmingly high. The combination of adverse weather conditions, such as prolonged droughts, floods, and earthquakes, increases people's vulnerability. Currently, over 15 million people, representing 36% of the population, are food insecure.
Our vineyards and pomegranate orchards dried up, and we were unable to grow corn and mung beans. Our winter crop production was reduced by half due to the drought.
To counteract climate shocks and enhance food security, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations has assisted communities in Afghanistan. This support comes through cash for work programs aimed at building water management infrastructures. These include water retaining walls and over 6,000 check dams to mitigate flood impacts, replenish groundwater levels, and facilitate irrigation.
But what's most amazing to me is their awareness of the fact that their agricultural systems need to change, to evolve, to adapt to what they're facing. Climate change, they want to move into horticultural crops. They realize that farming systems must evolve. But for us as FAO, the most precious part here is the fact that they already know what these challenges are, and we can support them, we can help them with so many ways.
Over the past year, the FAO has supported farmers with practical measures such as providing high-quality wheat seeds, livestock assistance, and cash transfers. These interventions have significantly improved agricultural productivity and food security in the country.
And now let's take a look at the weather forecast. And that's it for this edition of VTV News. Thank you very much for watching. To rewatch our program, you can download VTVgo from App Store or Google Play, or tune in our YouTube channel at youtube.com/VTV4go. Goodbye for now.